Hey guys, this is Shannon Sharp. I'm here with the Hughes Kettner Coreblade. This is an all-tube, all-analog 100-watt head. Features 3 12AX7s and 4 EL34 power tubes. That's what it ships with, but with the tube safety control feature on this amp, you can pretty much put any tube you want in there, but more about that later. Let's get to the front panel here. Of course, you've got your power, your standby, and your master, which you use with caution because this thing is loud as hell if you want it to be. But it also opens it up to where you got a lot of headroom for those cleans if you want. Now over here you have your noise gate. You have two buttons here for your effects loop. One to turn it on and off, duh, and the other one is to change it from parallel to serial. Now right here is your store button. Now anything you change along this line here, you can save into one of 128 MIDI presets. Here, this is the first amp that saves anything you want into a USB drive. So say if you've got to go do a gig across the country or maybe even across the world, you can take that stick with you, and as long as you've got another Coreblade, you can put your presets directly into that amp within 15 seconds and you're ready to go. And finally we get to this section. This is where you start building your core tone. You have 4 different things to choose from. You have clean, drive, ultra 1, and ultra 2. Now, you got to remember, you're not relegated to 4 tones on this amp. This is a MIDI head, so it actually stores up to 128 different kinds of sounds. This is just where you start. Now, with clean tone, you can actually get the cleanest cleans you can possibly think of, from that really super Police style tone all the way up to Stevie Ray Vaughn if you like. Going to drive, you can get that 70s and 80s kind of British grind that just sounds awesome, just really cuts through the mix. And then with Ultra 1 and Ultra 2, that's where Coreblade stands apart from Switchblade, because these are only for this head. This is definitely geared more towards the metalhead kind of guy. So if you go to Ultra 1 and stuff, that's definitely like a British tube amp just on steroids. And then with Ultra 2 and stuff, that's more of your American style, you know, really heavy gain with your tight bass and more of a scooped mid kind of sound. But it also works out really well when you crank up the mids and stuff. It works out incredibly well as a lead tone. So let's take a look at the back of this thing and see what we got going. Right here is where you would connect your speaker cabinets. Duh, we're going to need one of those. Right here is more controls for the memory, where you can go stick to amp or amp to stick. We talked about that earlier. Right here is where you can put in an optional pedal if you want to turn the built-in effects and the effects loop on and off at will. Right here is the stage, where the stage board connects. This has an included MIDI footboard and just connects right there. Now if you're like me and stuff and want a little bit more buttons and stuff, you can buy an aftermarket MIDI board, and that's what I use. And so I actually plug it into the MIDI in right here. It's a 7-pin cable that I use, and this amp actually puts phantom power through that cable into my board, so I don't have to run any additional plugs to that board. Pretty cool. You got MIDI in and through right here. Now with the effects loop right here, pretty standard, effects send and return, and then you've got a button here, lets you decide the level, -10 or +4 depending on what you're running. Now for the built-in noise gate, this is the control you want to get to know and love. This decides how heavy you want that noise gate to cut your sound off. You have hard and soft, so you pretty much just move it at will. Now one of the best features about this one here is what we were talking about earlier, TSC, Tube Safety Control. Now, what that basically means is you can put any kind of tube you want in here, and this will automatically bias itself to it. You can even mix and match tubes. Really cool feature on that. And then this also makes this amp incredibly reliable in the sense that if you blow a tube, you are not going to be screwed at your show. You can continue to play even on the good tubes. Now these 4 little lights right here, which I have this on standby, so it's showing all 4 lights, showing that there's no power. But if I had this in full operating mode, none of these would be lit unless there was a problem, and it would show me exactly what tube was failing, and I could go back and I could put in a tube. It really doesn't matter which. Again, you can put anything you want in here. and it will rebias itself automatically, and you can keep going. And right here is a little trim pot for home balance, and then of course your power cord. So let's get to it. memory backup, MIDI switching, noise gate, power amp customization, onboard effects, tone storage, and a maintenance-free power amp. This is Coreblade.